Title: Parker and the Lost Library Card. Parker raced down Maple Street, his worn sneakers slapping against the sidewalk as he dodged between morning joggers and dog walkers. His dark curls bounced with each step, and his favorite red jacket flapped behind him like a cape. The library card in his pocket felt heavier than usual, probably because it wasn't his. The morning had started like any other Saturday. He'd been heading to the library for a robot club when something shiny caught his eye near the bus stop. A purple library card lay abandoned on the bench, its edges worn from use. The name read Eleanor Chen, written in careful cursive. Now he stood at the library's glass doors, catching his breath. Mrs. Rodriguez, the head librarian, looked up from her desk and smiled. She wore her usual cardigan covered in tiny book pins that jingled when she moved. "Early for robot club again. That's what I like to see." She adjusted her glasses, noticing his flushed cheeks. "Everything all right?" He pulled out the purple card. "I found this at the bus stop. It belongs to Eleanor Chen." Mrs. Rodriguez's face brightened. "Oh, wonderful. Eleanor comes here every day after school. She'll be so relieved. She was quite upset yesterday when she couldn't find it." "Every day?" He tucked the card back in his pocket. "What does she check out?" "Poetry books, mostly. She's working through our entire collection alphabetically." Mrs. Rodriguez leaned closer, lowering her voice. "Between you and me, I think she's writing her own poems, too. I've seen her notebook." The library clock chimed 9. Robot Club would start soon, but something tugged at him. Someone who came to the library every single day must really need their card back. "Could I have her address? I could return it today instead of making her wait until Monday." Mrs. Rodriguez hesitated. "I can't give out personal information, but—" She tapped her chin thoughtfully. "Eleanor mentioned she lives above the flower shop on 3rd Avenue, the one with the yellow awning." Robot Club that morning felt different. While his friends assembled their mechanical creatures, his mind wandered to the purple card. Tommy showed off his robot's new spinning feature, and Aisha programmed hers to draw shapes, but all he could think about was Eleanor Chen, poetry lover, waiting 2 whole days to check out her next book. After club ended, he headed toward 3rd Avenue. The flower shop wasn't hard to find. Bright yellow awnings stretched across a narrow storefront, buckets of sunflowers and roses spilling onto the sidewalk. A small door beside the shop led to the apartments above. He climbed the narrow stairs and found apartment 2B. A welcome mat, decorated with cats, sat outside. He knocked gently. Shuffling sounds came from inside, and the door opened to reveal an elderly woman with silver hair pinned up in a neat bun. She wore a lavender sweater that matched her lost library card perfectly. "Yes?" Her voice was soft, like pages turning. "Are you Eleanor Chen? I found your library card at the bus stop this morning." Her hands flew to her chest. "Oh, my goodness, you found it!" She reached for the card with trembling fingers. "I've been so worried. I couldn't check out my books yesterday, and I'm right in the middle of the Mary Oliver collection." "Mrs. Rodriguez said you come every day." Eleanor's eyes crinkled. "Would you like some tea? I just made a pot, and I have cookies from the bakery downstairs." The apartment smelled like books and jasmine tea. Every surface held stacks of poetry collections, and handwritten pages covered the coffee table. Eleanor bustled in the tiny kitchen, arranging cookies on a plate painted with butterflies. "I moved here 6 months ago," she said, setting down the refreshments. "After my husband passed, my daughter thought I should be closer to town. The library has been my salvation." She picked up one of her handwritten pages. "I've been writing poems about the neighborhood. This one's about Mr. Kim, who runs the flower shop. He gives me the flowers that don't sell, and I press them in my books." Parker noticed pressed flowers, bookmarking several volumes, purple pansies, yellow roses, tiny white daisies. "That's beautiful. Do you share your poems with anyone?" Eleanor shook her head. "Oh, no, they're just for me. Though sometimes I wonder—" She trailed off, sipping her tea. "Wonder what?" "If other people might enjoy them. Mr. Kim doesn't know about his poem. Neither does Mrs. Rodriguez, though I've written 3 about the library. She laughed softly. Silly thoughts of an old woman. An idea sparked. What if you did a poetry reading at the library? I bet Mrs. Rodriguez would love that. Eleanor's teacup rattled against its saucer. Oh, I couldn't. Who would want to listen to me? Lots of people. My mom loves poetry. And Mr. Kim would probably cry hearing a poem about his flowers. He grabbed a cookie chocolate chip with a hint of orange. These are amazing, by the way. Secret ingredient is orange zest. Eleanor studied him over her teacup. You really think people would come? Definitely. We could make flyers. I'm pretty good at drawing robots, but I could probably manage flowers too. For the first time since he'd arrived, Eleanor smiled fully. You know what? Why not? At my age, what am I saving my courage for? They spent the next hour planning. Eleanor would select her best neighborhood poems while he designed flyers. The reading would be next Saturday, giving them a week to prepare and spread the word. Walking home, Parker felt lighter than he had in weeks. The autumn air smelled crisp, and the afternoon sun painted everything golden. He stopped by the library to tell Mrs. Rodriguez, who actually clapped her hands with delight. A poetry reading. How wonderful. I'll reserve the community room and put it in our newsletter. She peered at him over her glasses. This was your idea, wasn't it? He shrugged, but couldn't hide his grin. That week flew by in a whirl of preparation. True to his word, he drew flyers featuring robots holding flowers, which looked better than expected, and distributed them around the neighborhood. Eleanor practiced reading aloud in her apartment while he listened and offered encouragement. Project your voice more on that line, he suggested during Thursday's practice. The part about the morning glories climbing Mr. Kim's shop, it's so pretty everyone should hear it clearly. Eleanor adjusted her reading glasses. You're quite the director. Have you done this before? My teacher makes us read our stories aloud sometimes. She says if you believe your words matter, your voice will carry them. Your teacher sounds wise. Eleanor marked the passage. I'll remember that. Saturday arrived gray and drizzly, the kind of day that made you want to stay inside with a book. Parker worried people might not come, but when he arrived at the library, the community room was already half full. Mr. Kim sat in the front row, still wearing his flower shop apron. Mrs. Rodriguez had set up a small podium with a microphone and decorated the room with potted plants from the circulation desk. Families filtered in, including his mom, who waved from the back. Eleanor stood near the door, clutching her folder of poems. She wore the same lavender sweater, but had added a silk scarf painted with butterflies. Her hand shook slightly. There are so many people, she said quietly. They're all here for you. Look, there's the mailman you wrote about, and the crossing guard from Oak Street. He squeezed her hand. Remember what my teacher says. Your words matter. Mrs. Rodriguez approached the podium. Welcome, everyone. Today we have a special treat. Eleanor Chen, one of our most dedicated patrons, will be sharing original poems about our neighborhood. Eleanor moved here 6 months ago and has been capturing our community in verse. Please give her a warm welcome. Applause filled the room as Eleanor made her way to the podium. She set down her folder, adjusted the microphone, and looked out at the audience. For a moment she froze. Then her eyes found his in the crowd. He gave her a thumbs up. Eleanor took a deep breath and began. This first poem is called The Flower Man. It's about someone many of you know. Her voice started soft but grew stronger with each line. She painted Mr. Kim's shop in words, the way he sang to the roses in Korean, how he knew exactly which flowers would cheer someone up, the careful way he wrapped each bouquet like a gift. Mr. Kim wiped his eyes with his apron. One by one, Eleanor shared her poems. The crossing guard who knew every child's name. The mailman who left dog treats in his pocket. Mrs. Rodriguez and her jingling book pens creating a symphony of stories. The audience leaned forward, recognizing themselves and their neighbors in her words. Some laughed at funny observations. Others nodded at moments of truth. A few wiped away tears. For her final poem, Eleanor looked directly at him. This last piece I wrote this week. It's about how small acts of kindness can change everything. It's called The Boy Who Returned More Than a Card. The poem told of a Saturday morning, a purple card on a bench, and a boy who could have dropped it in any mailbox but chose to deliver it personally. How that choice led to tea and cookies, the courage found in stories shared, to a room full of neighbors discovering they were already characters in someone's beautiful words. When she finished, the room erupted. Everyone stood, applauding until their hands hurt. Eleanor's cheeks flushed pink as she bobbed little bows. After the reading, people crowded around her. Mr. Kim asked for a copy of his poem to frame in the shop. The crossing guard hugged her, saying no one had ever written about her before. Mrs. Rodriguez announced that Eleanor would have a monthly poetry reading slot if she wanted it. Parker hung back, letting Eleanor enjoy her moment. His mom found him by the cookie table. Mrs. Rodriguez had asked Eleanor to bring her famous orange chocolate chip cookies. "That was a wonderful thing you did," his mom said softly. "I just returned a library card." "No." She ruffled his curls. "You saw someone who needed more than just their card back. You saw they needed connection, purpose, a chance to share their gift. That's compassion in action." Eleanor finally broke free from her admirers and made her way over. Her eyes sparkled behind her glasses. "Young man, I have something for you." She handed him a handwritten page. "I made you a copy." He read the first lines of the boy who returned more than a card again, this time noticing details he'd missed during the performance. How she captured not just the events, but the feeling of unexpected friendship, of bridges built from small kindnesses. "Thank you," he managed through the lump in his throat. "Thank you." Eleanor pulled him into a lavender-scented hug. "You reminded me that it's never too late to share your voice. That's a gift beyond measure." As they walked home in the gentle drizzle, his mom held the umbrella while he carefully protected his poem. The neighborhood looked different somehow, fuller, richer, now that he knew the stories living behind each door. "Want to stop for hot chocolate?" his mom asked. "Can we go to the flower shop instead?" Mr. Kim mentioned he's starting a community board where people can post poems, announcements, anything really. I thought maybe. The flower shop smelled like rain and roses. Mr. Kim's eyes lit up when they entered. "The boy who started it all. Eleanor told me the whole story. You have a good heart." He pointed to a new bulletin board by the window. "Would you like the honor of posting the first item?" Parker pinned Eleanor's poem in the center of the board. Already he could imagine it filling with neighborhood stories, announcements for block parties, maybe even more poems from shy writers finding their courage. "You know," Mr. Kim said, arranging sunflowers in a vase, "Eleanor ordered 3 dozen flowers for the library reading next month. Says she wants the whole room to smell like a garden. I'm giving her the family discount." Walking home under the umbrella, Parker thought about how returning one purple library card had rippled outward like drops in a puddle. Eleanor had found her voice. The neighborhood had discovered a poet in their midst. Mr. Kim had a new community board. The library had a monthly poetry series. "Compassion is like planting seeds," his mom said, as if reading his thoughts. "You never know what might grow." He nodded, thinking of Eleanor surrounded by pressed flowers and poems, no longer keeping her words to herself. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness bloomed into entire gardens. The rain had stopped by the time they reached home. Sun broke through the clouds, making the wet streets shine like silver. Somewhere across town, Eleanor Chen was probably already working on next month's poems, her purple library card tucked safely in her lavender sweater pocket where it belonged. Parker carefully folded his poem and placed it in his desk drawer, right next to his Robot Club certificate. Both reminded him that building things, whether from metal and circuits or from words and kindness, always work better when you remembered the human heart at the center. Outside his window, a rainbow arced over Maple Street. He thought about adding that to his next Robot Club creation, a robot that could paint rainbows after storms. Eleanor would probably write a poem about it. The thought made him smile as he settled down to sketch his plans, already imagining the joy on his friends' faces when he shared the idea. After all, compassion was contagious, spreading from one heart to another like colors across the sky.